So, what if one of the most profound spiritual teachers of the 20th century? Well, what if he might have just fabricated his entire life story? Today, we're diving deep into the incredible puzzle of Robert Adams, a man who delivered a message of absolute truth from a life that might have been a complete fiction. That quote, it gets right to the heart of his radical, kind of bewildering message, right? No awakening, no one to wake up. What does that even mean? To understand what he was getting at, and why his personal story becomes so fascinatingly complicated, we have to look closer at both the man and his mind-bending ideas. All right, so here's how we're going to unpack all this. First, we'll explore his concept of the cosmic joke. Then, we'll try to unveil the illusion he was always talking about. After that, we'll look at his practical "Who am I" method. Then we'll trace his claimed journey as a sage. And finally, we get to the really juicy part, the serious questions and controversies surrounding his life. Okay, so first up, the cosmic joke. This is where you start to see just how dramatically different Robert Adams was from, your typical spiritual guide. His message wasn't about self-improvement. It was about, well, it was about self-annihilation. And this is where Adams just flips everything we think about life's purpose completely on its head. He claimed, "You do not exist. The world is a cosmic joke. Liberation is a joke. And get this, everything is right just the way it is. Nothing in this world needs improvement." For Adams, all our striving, all our ambition, it was just part of the dream. So how could he say these things? This wasn't just nihilism. It was all rooted in this really deep philosophy about the world as a dream. So let's try and unveil the illusion. The foundation for his entire worldview is something called Advaita Vedanta. Now, in short, it's a philosophy that says there is no separation between you and ultimate reality. Your true self isn't your body or your mind. It's identical to the one single consciousness that's the source of literally everything. The big takeaway is there is only one self. And he had this brilliant metaphor for it. Think of reality as a movie screen. That screen is pure awareness, consciousness itself. It's the permanent, unchanging background. But the movie projected onto it, the images of the world, your body, your thoughts, that's the temporary illusion. It's just stuff happening on the screen. And here it is, in his own words. You've been mesmerized into believing you are an image rather than a screen. His entire teaching was really just a method to wake you up from the movie and realize you are, and always have been, the screen itself. So if we're all just mesmerized by the movie, how do we wake up? This is where we move from the philosophy to the actual practice. He advocated a path he said he inherited from his own guru, the "Who am I" method. Now, this is pretty different from many common forms of meditation. A practice like I Am meditation uses a mantra to focus the mind. It's an act of doing something. Self-inquiry, though, is an act of undoing. It uses a question not to get an answer, but to totally dismantle the questioner itself, that little egoic I. And here's how it works. Step 1. Any thought or feeling arises, anger, happiness, worry, whatever. Step 2. You ask, to whom does this come? And the obvious answer is, to me. Step 3. Then you immediately ask the real question. Who am I? And this next part is absolutely key. Step 4. You remain still. You don't try to answer it with your mind. You just watch that I thought, tracing it back until it just dissolves into its source. This powerful message came from a man with a powerful life story, or so it was told. This is where we shift from the teaching to the teacher. Let's take a look at the sage's journey. So, according to his biography, Adams had a profound awakening at just 14 years old. At 18, back in 1946, he used a small inheritance to travel all the way to India and meet his guru, the legendary sage Ramana Maharshi. He claimed to have spent the last 3 years of Ramana's life with him before traveling India for another 17 years and eventually returning to the US. His connection to Ramana was the absolute cornerstone of his story and his spiritual authority. He said of their first meeting, "He looked at me and smiled, and I smiled back. Never did I meet anyone who exuded such compassion, such love, such bliss as Ramana Maharshi." It's a really compelling story of a Westerner becoming a true sage. But, and this is a big but, this is where the puzzle begins. Let's turn to the questions and controversy surrounding his unverified history.
Now, the source of this controversy is super significant. It comes directly from his claimed guru's ashram. Their official publication, The Mountain Path, eventually stated, "Until objective, verifiable evidence emerges, we can only conclude that his account is unreliable." Okay, let's look at the specifics here. Adams claimed he lived at the ashram for 3 years. The problem? The ashram, which kept meticulous records of the very few Western visitors at the time, has no record of him. He claimed private talks in English with Ramana, but Ramana almost never spoke English without a translator and didn't do private meetings. Adams told stories of visiting Ramana in a private home, something Ramana hadn't done since 1896. He even claimed to have donated a Jeep, but the ashram didn't own a vehicle until 2018.
So this brings us right to the central paradox, a profound and for many people life-changing message of absolute truth, delivered by a messenger whose personal truth is now in serious doubt. What do we do with that?
What's fascinating is that Robert Adams himself provided a potential way to understand this. He once told his students, "The teacher is really yourself. You have created a teacher to wake you up." It's almost as if he's telling us that the form of the teacher, the story itself, is just another image on the screen that we ultimately need to see through.
And so we're left with this huge, crucial question. Does a messenger's story change the power of their message? Is the real value in the beautiful story of the sage or in the timeless truth they point to? And that right there is the puzzle of Robert Adams.